Hello and welcome back to Jacob's Books Corner, where we're sitting on my bed today to talk about some very interesting things called quarantine. If you guys do not, of course you know, the pandemic that's going on right now for the coronavirus is taking the world by storm, and I am here to recommend some books that will maybe, hopefully, help you escape. I do want to mention, though, a lot of these books are, distressing. I would pick them up to read them and enjoy them and really, highly recommend these books. But a lot of them deal with, more adult themes because that's just my type of, reading. That's what I enjoy reading. And so these books might not be suited for you. I also highly recommend you check out my TBR video for the month, as most of those books are going to be the books I'm going through quarantine while I'm reading. So that's why I'm not directly telling you what I'm reading during this time period of weirdness, because I've already told you, I just posted a video about it last week. So I'm just here to recommend some books. Some of those books I am reading, currently, and I think they're really good, and I think you guys would enjoy them too, and so I'll recommend them here, but yeah, most of them are books I've already finished. Speaking of, we're going to start with my newest favorite author, which you guys all know because I can't stop gushing about her, and that is my favorite book by her. That's Karen Slaughter's The Good Daughter. Karen Slaughter is one of my favorite horror/thriller authors I've ever read from. I've never read anything as good as Karen Slaughter, and I've read a lot of books trying to be Karen Slaughter. So, And this is her pride joy, okay? I have one more, which is on my list to read, by the way, during quarantine. It's called Cop Town. It's over there. I don't recommend it because I've not read it yet. Out of all the books I have read, though, from Karen Slaughter, this is by far her best. It was my first read from Karen Slaughter, and nothing has ever lived up to it. I did really enjoy Pretty Girls, which is the one that came before this, but the problem with Pretty Girls is that I just have a hard time recommending. I do recommend you look up the trigger warnings and stuff, because this follows a family. It follows a family. I know Charlotte and Samantha, Quinn. It follows the Quinns. That's what I was looking for. And the first part of the book, which probably takes the first 50 or so pages, starts with them moving into a new house because their house got burnt down because of their dad, Rusty, is someone who is an attorney for people who do horrible crimes until they're proven guilty, type of thing. And so the town that they lived in burnt down their house. They're a Pacific set of people, and they come into their home at their new house looking for their father and end up slaughtering the family. Then you jump forward 20 years, I want to say, into the future, 15 to 20 years into the future, and we're following Charlotte, which is one of the youngest daughters, who we don't really know what happens to them at the end of that little prologue type area. And she is experienced into a school shooting, and so there is a story that is taking place into the future, which is really good, and also it goes back in time, explaining what happened in the past. I do want to mention that school shooting obviously is very distressing, but also this has to do with homicide and some very graphic cases and different things. Illnesses here are, I think, really well done. I think Karen Slaughter did a lot of research for one of the particular characters. I'm not going to give away spoilers or anything like that. And I thought it was so well done, and I couldn't recommend this book enough. The audiobook, by the way, is very very good. The book itself is only 400 pages, but the audiobook is 23 hours. And so it's because the words and stuff are they're small. They're little baby words, but I love it. And if I wasn't reading Karen Slaughter, I would definitely pick this up in the time of what this is. Oh my gosh, should I talk about my other favorite book of all time from last year? No, it's fine. Okay, here. I only have 5 or 6 books to recommend, by the way. It's not like I have a whole list. I also highly recommend rereading your favorites during this time. Go back into a world that you already know, that you are very fond of. And for instance, a world that I'm very fond of that brings me so much joy and happiness, and you guys have talked to me, and you guys have somewhat badgered me into wanting to do a review about this book, and so maybe I would pick it up if I didn't have 19 books on a TBR sale. It's fine. And that is Winger by Andrew Smith. It's actually probably my favorite book of all time. That's a big statement. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's in the top 3. I would have to once again advise that list. I think that's a video that's coming within the next week or so. I'm gonna make myself advise a list of my top, what are my top tiers? I need to know so I can stop saying this is my top tier. But Winger follows Ryan Dean when he gets shipped off to a boarding school that his dad goes. That's not right. That is not right. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused with Looking for Alaska, by John Green, which I also very much enjoy. This is by Andrew Smith. This is about 14-year-old junior at Pine Mountain at boarding school for rich kids, where they kind of like ship off their kids off to this like thing. He ends up getting caught hacking into cell phones and sent into the detention ward for his junior year. He's super duper smart and he's super duper young. Everybody else is very much older than him, and he gets into a lot of trouble and a lot of makeshift things. It's a very poignant, very real book, and the characters here were absolutely stunning. I read it my sophomore year of high school, and I've read it 5 times since then. And every time I get it 5 stars, and every time it makes me cry, and every time it just makes me so happy inside. There is a sequel called Standoff. I didn't bring it over here. It's sitting over there. And I think that's a book you should read with your friends. I don't really think that's a book you can read by yourself. Every time I've read it, and I've read it now 3 times, I've always like, I wish I had an audience to read this too, type of thing. Whereas Linger, I think you guys can devour in one sitting and be pleasantly happy, but also pleasantly depressed all at the same time. And you know what? That's just like I said, that's the type of books I'm recommending to you, okay? Another one of my favorite books, is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Now, Rainbow Rowell also has Carry On, which I would also recommend, but I've not read Wayward Son, so I don't want to recommend that series just for that reason. I am reading it during quarantine. It's sitting over there. But Fangirl follows Kath, who is actually writing Baz and fanfiction for Baz and stuff, who is from Carry On. And she goes off to college. Her and her twin sister go off to college, and she believes that her and her twin sister were going to share rooms and do all this other stuff. But her twin sister surprises her and says, no, we're going to live on our own, and you're going to have to face the world by yourself. She ends up meeting Wes. Is that his name? I don't want to get it wrong. It's been a minute since I've read this one. This is actually on my list of ones I need to reread, to be honest with you. Hello, Simon. I want to say it's Wes. Is the guy that she ends up falling in love with. I would actually have to do a little more research into it, but I want to say that's Wes, and that's Kath. I know that's at least Kath. And she writes fan fiction on the side while being a creative writing major. There's a lot of poignant stuff that happened to her with family and stuff, and I really liked it. It was my first ever writing books I ever read, where it was a book about writing, and it was just, the romance here was very, very good, and overall, I very, very much enjoyed, and could not recommend more. Actually, I've gotten 3 people to read this during quarantine, so, you know, what should be like the 17th, okay? Okay, the next ones are trilogies and different things like that, where I'm recommending you longer series because you could be wanting to disappear for a longer amount of time. All these series are somewhat long, except for the one that I'm currently reading, and that is the Cruel Prince trilogy by Holly Black. I'm in the middle of The Wicked King. I have like 30 pages left, and then I'm moving on to Queen of Nothing. I mean, honestly, I'm binge reading these. The first one, I have to remember very quote. It follows 3 sisters who get stolen from the human world and brought into the fairyland, and they are tormented and they're abused, and we follow our main character Jude, who wants to be a knight and who wants to be strong and wants to show her sisters that you can stand up to the bullies and do all this other stuff, while there's a lot of political intrigue and stuff going on. And a lot of things happen towards the end of this book that was really, really good. Overall, I give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I do recommend, just because it's going to be one of those things where The Wicked King is, like, one of the best sequels I've read in a long time. And I'm super duper excited to finish it. It's actually, like, right. You guys, that's Oreos, but it's on the other side of Oreos. But I loved it so much, and I highly recommend the series. I'm going to be reading Queen of Nothing, and there will be a whole review going up actually later on this week of this whole entire trilogy. But yeah, I don't know. I do recommend. The audiobooks, once again, are very strong, but you don't have to listen to them as audiobooks. This is a very much readable. I read and listened to both of those books, and I like them both. But I do recommend the Cruel Prince trilogy, which I never thought I would, because for a long time there I thought I really hated them, and now I kind of understand the hype behind them. I don't think they're as amazing. I mean, The Wicked King, yeah, but the more and more I listen, because I listened to like the entirety of The Wicked King today, there is major problems with the story though. Structure-wise, it's been beautiful. Alright, and so I have a controversial one because I have mentioned this book a few times on my channel, and I have very strongly said I absolutely hate and contest this book. And that is the Illuminate Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Now, I have no idea if this really follows, so I'm not here to explain it to you. I'm just here to say this is probably a good book to read during a time like this. Because it is, it's set in space. that's good. You know, you don't want to be here on Earth right now. So you want to go to space. There you go. I got you. You go in space. But it's also a total multimedia platform, which should really, really help you as a reader and things like that be able to devour it very quickly, but also be very satisfying and things. At least I hope so. I've now tried this 6 times, I think it is, and I always end up putting it down around the 100-page mark. I'm doing it a little differently this time, but I'm excited to pick it up, and this is part of my quarantine read, and so I figured I'd recommend it with you guys as well. Do you guys really love the series? Let me know in the comments down below. All 3 books are out, so you can binge read them, which I think is always the best. I hate recommending series that, like, the first 2 are out, or the first one's out, and you're just like, Ninth House by Verdugo. I highly recommend Ninth House, but the first book's out, and, you know, it's just like one of those things. Or you could pick it up, but you don't have to pick it up. Yeah. Alright, the last one is actually a complete set, like, it's a whole thing. It's a whole series, whole saga of books, and that is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This is one of my favorite series, and it's seriously like, I mean, there's not a book in here that I don't like. I mean, you can go back and you look at the ratings and stuff. I think they slowly get better and better, and they slowly do get better and better. But you have to start with Cinder. Cinder follows Cinderella, and I've explained the story a lot on my channel, but it's like, it's a retold version of fairy classic tales. And so we have Cinderella, we have Red Riding Hood, we have Rapunzel, and then we also have Snow White. And they all centered around this. There's a lot of political intrigue. It's a sci-fi series, and I highly, highly, highly recommend these. These are so, so good. And, I mean, they're still good now. And it's one of those series, these books get super duper thick. The last book's like 900 and something pages. And so you're definitely going to be, like, involved, and you're going to have a lot of time in these pages with these characters that you're going to fall in love with. And there's characters in here you're going to hate, but overall, you're just going to have a really good time, and I could not recommend a better series to read in a time like this, because it's a little personal, it's a little close to home. There is a disease that is killing humans and stuff throughout the series, and that they're looking for a cure and things, and that's, like, a very big, poignant point to the Lunar Chronicles, but still, I feel like it's a good read, and I definitely highly recommend. And those are my books that I recommend. There's so many of these videos that are popping up right now, which is actually why I decided to make one, because I was like, I should be part of the trend. I want to be a part of the trend. And so I made a book, I made a video, basically. That's what it says. Yep. Also, for anybody who's curious, I don't know how much sense I'm making. I'm just very tired. I'm, like, not drunk or anything. Just wanted to point that one out. I don't know why I did that, but I did. But yeah, so I also recommend, for anybody who does not know, it is March prepping, Marparp. It's prepping for Camp NaNoWriMo, and so maybe you're working on a story. If so, let me know in the comments down below. What books are you planning on reading while you're quarantined inside your house? Are you participating in self-isolation? You should be, but maybe you're not. And why not? Let me know in the comments down below. All these questions I would love to know the answers to. Like, more than you would think. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another beautiful video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.